So I finished my assessment of Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow as a film, an upcoming film, and I gave it my thumbs down. I'm not excited at all to see a movie featuring this plot, but I wanted to go through a few things, and one of them is what other Tom King series could they make into a film? And when I was kind of researching it, I discovered a few different things. First of all, somebody had mentioned in there that maybe I was a little unfair with the DCU Extended Universe and their gross and the worldwide gross they were making, because there is pre-COVID and post-COVID, and one would expect the box office to drop. And I had mentioned that in my reviews, which was, there was a few times when, or not my reviews, my discussion, where I talked about that these numbers were post-COVID. So, for instance, the first Shazam made 367 million, and the second 133. A significant drop. How much of that is post-COVID? How much of that is the lack of quality of the film? So, in these films, there's only one that exceeded $1 billion, Aquaman. That was pre-COVID. COVID hit right about here. Birds of Prey was pre, but then it got kind of pulled because of COVID. How much did it hurt it? I don't know. The biggest one was Suicide Squad, which made 746 million for the first one, and then 168 for the second one, despite the fact the second one was significantly better. Now, if you look at the worldwide box office for this year, you do have two movies over $1 billion, over 1.3 billion. Barbie has made almost 1.4 billion. So it's not that it's impossible to do. They could put up big numbers. Oppenheimer made over 850 million. Guardians of the Galaxy over 840 million. So it's not that movies can't make a lot of money post-COVID. Now the big theater closest to my house closed down in March, so I get it. There's definitely, the world has changed somewhat, but I don't think that can completely account for these numbers, and it certainly doesn't account for just the miserable review scores. And I know that review scores can sometimes be a little deceptive, but I think in many cases these are accurate. I would have given Black Adam a higher score than that. Shazam, Fury of the Gods. It was, so anyway, is DC putting out anything good? Well, yeah, Peacemaker, but also the Batman. This was not in the DCU. It is separate, DCEU, and it made 771 million on a $200 million budget. That's a hit. The Joker in 2019 made over $1 billion on a budget of 55 to 70 million. So why do they want to keep putting out these DC Extended Universe films when they keep failing? And now they're going to try again. When you have two big hits that are outside of the DCEU. And in this case, they did it on a very small budget. Small relative to the other films. So there are 5 of these maxi series by Tom King. And I have to kind of, I would put all of these outside of the DCEU. I think Danger Street is still ongoing. It would be a really interesting story. Maybe better as a TV series. It might be hard to get people into it because, the same reason it might be hard to get it into the comic, because almost all of the characters are C and D level. So you'd need a hook, and this one may be a challenge to do. I think it's a great story. It could be an interesting film, but it might be hard to market that. The Human Target is another great story. I loved all of these stories. I'd say that the one, I mean, it's kind of a remake of DOA, Dead on Arrival. Um, I can only assume Tom King was inspired by DOA and wrote this. And the usage of the JLA might be a problem, or I'm sorry, not the JLA, the Justice League International, JLI. But I think this could be workable, and you could maybe do it smaller budget. You don't need a lot of special effects. I think that's kind of one of the things that irritates me is some of these bloated budgets because they feel the need to put in special effects when this could be a very story driven. I think of Fury of the Gods, and at the opening part, the two daughters of Atlas go into a museum, and it's kind of cool. I like that they go in these like centurion outfits, just walk up to the broken spear and just tip over the glass. You could do all that on a small budget. But then they start releasing some, I don't know, some magic that turns everyone to stone or dust, and it becomes a whole special effects extravaganza. And for what? I thought it made it worse to add all those special effects in there. And the whole finale was like an hour long of CGI. Just stop it. And, one of my favorite fights of all time in comic stories, the comic book movies, was Bane versus Batman when they didn't use any special effects. But I don't know. They love using special effects. Strange Adventures, I think, could be very interesting. I think it could be very interesting and a great movie on, not a huge budget. People might be irritated that, Adam Strange is kind of revealed as the villain at the end. But it's a great story, and I think you could do this one on a smaller budget. It does use Batman, and I don't know how you would work that, whether you'd need a whole new actor for Batman, and I think that could be doable. This would be a great story. Rorschach, this might confuse people because Rorschach never appears in here. A great story. I almost would just remove Rorschach because it's a attempted murder mystery. I don't know. I don't know how I would work it because I think it's a great story, but the advertisement of Rorschach would be kind of a bait and switch, and people might not be real happy about that. Because, like I said, Rorschach does not appear. Somebody appears as Rorschach, dressed in the Rorschach costume, but he is in no way Rorschach. So, you could do this on like I don't know, $25-30 million budget, something like that. There's no superpowered superheroes in it at all. Mr. Miracle, this one could be a lot of fun. This one could be, and the introduction to the new gods. Since I don't think they're going to do anything with it, I'm assuming that there will never be a follow-up to the Justice League movie, so Darkseid is kind of dead and buried. So this could be something to introduce people to the new gods. And I don't know how to deal with this one because I don't believe it's in continuity. I don't think it's intended. A lot of big name characters die in it. And so I think it would probably be better to be out of continuity. But despite the fact there's a lot of superpowered characters in here, it's really a story-driven, character-driven story. So I think any of these would be better than Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow. I think they're all great stories. But my advice, if I were to give advice to DC, is stop obsessing over the DC extended universe. Just make, these standalone films outside of the DCEU have done so much better. They're better regarded, and they're making a lot more money. And so I think that's the answer, is just stop trying to be Marvel. It's not working. I'm not particularly interested in, I don't know, some of these could be interesting, but we'll see. I do like Swamp Thing. That would be interesting. Anyway, so I think this is my finale on the DCEU for quite a while. So unless something else. By the way, Blue Beetle apparently is a pretty good, pretty good. Yeah, okay, I'm going to say one more thing. I read something that was suggesting that, I think James Gunn was saying that he thought the problem with Blue Beetle's box office was the fact that the main character is Hispanic. I think that's ridiculous. I don't believe that for 1 second. I think Blue Beetle is suffering from just people and their view of DC movies, which is they don't have any faith in them. So as of August 18th, 55 million. So I don't, well, worldwide 101 million. On 104 million, I don't know what it will end at, but I think the problem is just a perception that it's going to take a while to turn that around, if they can do it. Anyway, so I'm going to end it now.